This is a special episode of Gun Talk Nation. We're on location in Wyoming for the Sig Sauer Hunter Games, a very audacious undertaking. Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Remington Ammunition, Armscor, and CrossBreed holsters. All right, welcome into Gun Talk Nation. This is kind of a special Gun Talk Nation. We are on location and an undisclosed, we'll disclose it. Wyoming, for a special event, the Sig Hunter Games. So with me today, Matt Light, Tom Taylor, Tom Sig Sauer, Matt Light. We don't know what you did.
We can't talk about that either.
You used to push people around for a living or something, right?
Yeah,
NFL, former NFL guy. So this is really cool. We're in the lodge, and if you're listening to this on the podcast side of things, you'll probably hear some people moving around and all that. That's just because, you know, this is an event. It's live. This is happening. So Tom, probably got to talk about what is the Sig Hunter Games.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's a lot of work. I mean, putting this thing together in the middle of nowhere, but in a beautiful location. We're at 8,000 feet where we are here in the lodge, and the course of the Hunter Games goes up to about 9,250. So we'll be at some pretty good elevation here, but this was something that, you know, Sig is new to the hunting game. We've sold optics, we've sold ammunition, and then within the last year we've introduced our new CROSS bolt action rifle. And so, you know, at Sig, a long time ago we realized if we're going to do something, you know, there's no dabbling. We don't like to dabble. We want to go all in. We want to give everything we have to do it. And so, you know, people don't know the Sig Sauer name in the hunting category, and so we try to come up, how can we do this? So first of all, we want to go to a place, we love the whole adventure hunting, Western hunting thing. It's the CROSS rifle is very light, it's very mobile, it folds.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, the CROSS, that's really its bread and butter, although it could work in any scenario.
Of course.
It's great as that backpack, lightweight, it folds up like you were saying.
Yeah.
This seems like it's natural environment out here in Wyoming.
Yeah, it's very portable and those kinds. So like I said, it's good for almost anything you want. But you know, it's really built for this sort of adventure Western hunting game. And so we said, how do we find some ways to really communicate what we want to do in the hunting category? So we said, well, one way to do it is to try to find a lot of different people who can communicate to a lot of different groups, a lot of different interests. And so we started brainstorming, who do we invite and how do we put this thing together? So what we came up with is we took 10 of our hunting ambassadors, guides, notable guides all over the country. A lot of them themselves have good social followings and different interests, different kinds of guides from all over the country, Canada, Florida,
right.
Western, a lot of Western guys obviously here.
Backgrounds, variety of backgrounds.
Very, very wide variety of backgrounds, even for the professional hunters that we have here. And then we wanted to pick 20 celebrities and pair them up, two celebrities with a guide, and put them on this course. And we came up with a bunch of crazy rules and wanted to make it as challenging as we could. But, you know, it's a wide variety of people, you know, small people, big people,
so,
you know.
Yeah, so Matt, you're one of the celebrities who got invited into this. And so, I mean, what have you gotten yourself into? What are you anticipating here?
Listen, I think like a lot of other people that are going to be here competing in the Hunter Games, by the way, not Hunger. I had to remind my wife, this is not the Sig Hunger Games.
I am
this is the Hunter Games.
Games. Yes.
I'm going to survive this one, honey. Maybe. Although, because we are climbing this elevation that as a flatlander, I'm not accustomed to. But, you know, really for me, it's been interesting because so many guys throughout the year, right? You're going from one thing to the next. You're not really looking ahead and studying. It's kind of like an autopilot, especially in the hunting realm. Oh, I'm going to go to this lodge. I'm going to go experience this hunt. It's elk hunting, but yeah, it's not in the place I normally do, but I know what's coming, right? And this trip, I really haven't prepared for kind of all encompassing what this is going to be. I mean, even on the ride here, right? I'm listening to guys talking about wrangling snakes in Florida, unbelievable elk hunts. Cody's, you know, talking about some of the pack trips that they've had, and I mean, it's been really engaging already, and we haven't even hit the course yet. We're not even close to hitting the course. So this is, and it's a little bit intimidating too, because, you know, these are some of the best people in the world at their craft, at doing what they do. So I think the competitive nature of this is going to kick in a hurry in about 10 hours.
Yeah.
So tell us about your team.
Yeah, Team Bighorn. Although they're trying to change it to Beefcake or Big Boy.
Because you guys may have the, I don't know how the nice way to put this, Matt, is the biggest team, the most tonnage of any team out there?
Thank you. I think it's huskiness, I think is the term you're looking for.
Husky hikers.
Yeah.
That's the term.
So on your team, you got yourself.
Myself, we have Bam Bam, Mr. Brian Marshall, and then we have the one and only Adam Roach, who, I did lobby for Adam. And I'm glad
he lobbied hard.
We made that happen because he gets me. And I've already told him he has to carry me halfway up the mountain.
Well, yeah, that's the plan to survive the whole thing. So the course of fire, you have 10 stages, and it's laid out over about, 7 miles, Tom?
Just under 7.5 miles.
And they have to walk the whole thing, shoot it the whole thing. I mean, it's a pretty wild idea you guys came up with, but it's also kind of a fun test of skills, test of the gear. And it's really set up to mimic hunting.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, there's the 10 stages, and there's actually an 11th bonus stage that they'll get to shoot each day. That'll be different, the 2 days, but it's sort of a shotgun start, if you will, if you're a golfer, where you spread it across the course, and then at a certain time. So here it happens to be a cannon. We have a cannon outside. The cannon's going to go off, and so at that point, they'll have 15 minutes to shoot, and then 30 minutes to move about half a mile to the next stage, and then that'll repeat itself through all 10 stages. So 15 minutes to shoot, 30 minutes to hike, and some will be a casual stroll. And there's a couple stages. There's 1,250 feet of elevation gain on the course. So there's a couple of pretty aggressive movements between stages.
Pounding when you get to the top of that.
Each stage has 2 or 3 targets. You have to, and part of there's a zone that the hunters show up at, and then there will be one of our SIG Academy instructors or RSOs for it. So they're sort of scoring and just making sure that everything stays on track. But just finding the targets, and these are cool targets. They're like foam core animals, but then they've got a steel vital section, and a red light. So you have an audible hit and a visual hit. So it's easy for our guys to score, and
they're set up like hunting. I mean, this isn't like it's a wide open field. I mean, this is out in the woods.
If you look around, we're here in it's Aspens at this range, and there's a couple of stages that are sort of on the perimeter of the woods, but then you sort of go into the woods, and there's some cases where you'll be inside of this 20-foot zone where you have to start looking for your targets, and if you're standing to the left or the right, they may not even be visible. So as you're walking through, you're going to be glassing, into the woods in some cases. And we've set up where there's a good shooting, sort of path, into the woods or whatever. And some are elevated, some are down below. So and then in terms of shooting, you'll be prone. There'll be fence posts. There's a fence. There's some offhand required, prone. So and then with their equipment, they have a shooting bag, and they have their backpacks. They have our BDX system, so one guy will be ranging, one guy will be shooting, one guy will be looking for targets, and so forth. So we try to make this as challenging and as comprehensive as we can. So there's no, if you just go to the range and shoot on the bench all the time, you never practice any kind of alternative methods for shooting, it could be a little challenging.
Yeah. So Matt, what are you're thinking about the shooting part of it? What's your background in shooting this type of stuff, longer ranges and different positions?
Yeah, I grew up in the Midwest, and then, predominantly we now live in the Northeast, so you don't take long shots typically. Midwest, maybe a little bit more, you can reach out. I have familiarity with, some more longer range shooting. I think most people think of that 1,000-yard, mark for long range shooting. I would say I'm more comfortable in that intermediary, 400 to 600 yard range.
Which I think that's more of like, that would be a longer range but doable range for a hunting application.
Sure.
1,000 yards most times that's not a hunting range.
It's not something you hear a lot.
Be sneaky, get closer.
Right.
That's
be
my
better
strategy.
at what you do, and then get it. So I've definitely killed big game animals at 400, 500, 600 yards. Personally, not as comfortable taking a shot beyond that, but have a lot of fun trying when you're on the range, right? The thing I like about this is that there's time in between. You hear about this 30 minutes and then 15 minutes to shoot thing, right? See, I'm used to 10 yards, cloud of dust, regroup, have a huddle, talk about it a a little bit, figure out what we're going to do, and then go out there and do it again, right? I think I remember running a mile in 30 minutes, so I should be okay. I should be okay.
You'll make it.
Yeah, thank you.
But the targets, that's what there's 1,000-yard bonus stage. It's got a big 4-foot steel, target to hit at 1,000. So that's not part of the real. That's a bonus stage, if you will, just for fun. But the 10 stages, the targets range from about 50 yards out to about 450.
So it's realistic hunting.
That's very realistic from a hunting perspective.
And I like it from my perspective too, because I'm going to have that professional. that I can bounce ideas off of. And what you don't get to do enough as a shooter is to sit around in real time talking about how you're looking at this target, how you're evaluating this shot, right? And the beauty too for me on this one is that I haven't had my hands on the BDX system yet. And it's been something that I've looked at, I've wondered about it, is it too much optics, is it not, is it, or electronics, is it, everything I see says that it makes a lot of sense. It's very applicable to what we do in the hunting realm. And so to be able to take this thing out, not worry about my drop, but worry more about my windage, right? To me, that there's a comfort level in that.
It takes one less thing out of it and helps you make those shots that are maybe, okay, 100 yards, no problem, no worries. But maybe he's 375 yards and he's downhill and you're going, I'm not really sure exactly. I mean, for those listening who maybe aren't familiar with it, I don't know how they wouldn't be, but the Sig Sauer BDX system, obviously Sig Sauer is an optics company, a pretty big one at this point, and it's the rangefinder talking to the scope that's on your rifle, and the reticle adjusts in there based on the range. Is that about right, Tom?
Yeah, basically it's giving you a hold, so you don't, it takes that part of, you're right, it takes that part of it out of it, so you don't have to think about your hold. You're just thinking about, is there any windage I need to allow for, but elevation, all those kinds of things are out of it. And they'll have to work together as a team. And we happen to be using the binocular version of the rangefinder, so you're glassing, you're ranging, rangefinder will talk to the optic, it'll give you your hold, and you shoot. So
I love that. I love having binos with a rangefinder. Now you don't have two different things. You're glassing for the animal, and then you just range them right there. Kind of one less step.
Yeah.
What are those binos called?
Those are the Zulu 6s.
Zulu 6s, okay. And I think it's a great test of the BDX system. What's the other gear? We're gonna have the cross rifle.
So they'll have a custom cross rifle. It's been designed for the competitors to take home with them when they're done. But they'll have the BDX system. We're actually going to, when they leave, we're actually going to give them a little supply of ammo, which may be the greatest benefit of the whole thing is getting to go home with some ammo.
Bricks.
But I mean, we have a number of sponsors. Exo backpacks, and you've already picked up your gift pack. But they have a backpack. They have shooting bags. When you look down at, just below the hill here where we are, there's a Tent City, and we have Exo tents. Sorry, Nemo.
Side note, all the competitors are staying in the tents to make it kind of even that more authentic.
I hear the lodge is phenomenal.
Yeah, lodge stuff.
I hear the lodge is phenomenal.
Yeah. Those people sit in the room. It's a great hardship inside the lodge, I can tell you. I had to turn the thermostat down last night a little bit, but no. So there's the tents are potted, tents from Nemo in little, by team. There's banners out there with the team names on them. And so sleeping bags, pads, and you saw the Nemo chairs.
Oh yeah.
Did you sit in one of those yet?
Not yet.
So it's like a hammock chair that's going. Each competitor will go home with that. And so I mean, there's the prize package for the competitors, which they'll use here for the camping, for the event itself, and then they're all going to go home with that. And then the champions are going to go home with a pretty cool custom 320 customized for the Hunter Games.
Rock Island Armory's newest addition to their lineup is the STK 100. This is their first striker-fired pistol, and it's 9mm, has 17-round capacity in the magazine, uses Glock-style magazines, but it's at a solid aluminum frame. I've shot this gun. It has a great feel to it. One of the things that they did is its optics-ready slide and an extended beaver tail because they like 1911s over there and how they shoot. And so will you. Find out more at armscor.com. Also, Springfield Armory. Springfield Armory now has precision-crafted optics, the Hex Wasp Micro. It's a direct mount. It's for those small concealed carry pistols. And they also have the Hex Dragonfly, a little bit bigger red dot for full-size pistols or long guns, that type of thing. They also compare that with the new Hellcat Micro Compact. They also have a new magazine for the Hellcat, the 15-round magazine. Find out more at hexoptics.com and springfield-armory.com. CrossBreed Holsters has a variety of holsters for all types of carry. They really have a full line, whether that's inside the waistband, outside the waistband, appendix, Kydex, hybrid, all kinds of stuff. They have the Reckoning, the Mini Tuck, the Snap Slide. They also have mag pouches, belly bands, different types of bag carry, purse carry type of stuff. So lots of different options for you, which is helpful when you're carrying. Check out crossbreedholsters.com. And Gun Talk Nation is also brought to you by Remington Ammunition. Big Green is back. We're very excited about it. Their Golden Saber bonded defense and tactical handgun ammunition features lead core, hot bonded to a brass jacket. That means it holds together. It produces unmatched expansion and weight retention to keep you and your loved ones safe. Made in the USA, available in 4 popular calibers. Check them out, remington.com/handgun. So it is being scored. This is serious time.
Yeah.
The competitive juices are going to start flowing with you and Adam.
It started a while ago. Matter of fact, I got a text. He had asked me how I was doing. I sent him a picture with my air rifle and a chipmunk that I'd harvested about 3 days ago. Aim small, miss small.
Did you wrap them in bacon, marinate them for several hours, all that stuff?
Yeah, we typically slow cook them.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. But his response back when I said, we've got this, he said, yeah, just like my father always said, I'm with you, Matt, win or tie. So I think we only have one way to go on this one, right?
And then it's great because the mindset here is, I mean, when you look at them, we didn't talk about this yet, the level of the not only the guides, which are all good at, they wouldn't be working with us if they weren't really good at what they do, but, we have UFC, we have the winningest UFC fighter of all time, Cowboy Cerrone. We have Bullet Valentina, who's the current and 5-time flyweight champion in UFC. We have Ryan Villapato, who's like the 10-time Supercross champion. We have skiers, snowboarders, snowmobilers. We have almost everything we could think of. We said, let's just look at all these different things. We have Laura Zera from one of the most popular sort of episodes of or series of episodes on Naked and Afraid.
Right.
She's a really talented sort of survivalist and outdoors woman, and just you go across the board, and we have Jack Carr, the New York Times bestselling author, who was also a 20-year SEAL. We have Dave Castro from CrossFit Games, also a SEAL. So I think there's 3 or 4 SEALs in the competition. So when you look down the list, you're looking at these list of competitors. There's nobody here who's going to say, I'm just here for fun.
No, you're right.
It's going to be a competitive group.
Lena is here.
Lena
she's on
so we have an
team.
all-women's team, which is kind of cool. So Lena and Laura Zera are on the women's team with Jordan Budd, who's one of our ambassadors, and she's an amazingly talented guide. And so there's some money, when you look at those 3 who all are very good at what they do. Some of the, odds makers are saying, that team is one to be reckoned with. And if the women go home with the medal, you're going to have to walk home. It's like.
I've already heard it's the team to beat. I mean, that's the rumor going around down there in Tent City.
We threw it out there to our audience on a live a few days ago, and people were going nuts over like, well, what team do you think is the one? But there's no agreement on it. It's going to be interesting. And for what it's worth, you guys listening, we are filming this. We'll be putting out a bunch of different pieces of video about it on the Gun Talk channels. It's just such an interesting idea of what could happen. I want to see you use Adam as like a bench rest. Get him on all fours. Shoot off of his back or something like that.
We practice that on a regular basis, at least 2 to 3 times a year. And really, what it comes down to is some of the yoga techniques that he learned in baseball.
There you go.
They do yoga in the baseball realm. We clearly didn't do that, but and it's really about that breath control. Because you don't want him taking that deep breath at the wrong time.
When we say breath control, we're not talking about the shooter.
Yeah, not breath control, like controlling your breath. Yes.
We want the guy who I'm resting the gun on to control.
Hold
your breath.
Yeah, he's got to be
He's
very
been practicing
stable.
Holding his breath for weeks now.
One of the best I've ever been around, to be honest with you. No, it is going to be crazy though, because I think the other part of this that, and this is probably part of that planning process, is that you don't get to be in camp with a diverse group like this, and I think that's going to be, a lot of fun for all the competitors, right? And for everybody that worked hard to set all this up. And everybody's a million mile an hour, and you're always on to the next thing and this, that, and the other. But here's an opportunity to, learn from some of these folks. I mean, I keep hearing that Laura, she can build a fire like using friction. That's unbelievable. And when I heard that on the way here, I'm like, I got to see it.
Yeah. I forgot to mention one of the more interesting guys, Hoist Gracie's here.
Yes.
And as soon as Hoist heard about this, he was like, I'm in, and I'm going to win this thing. And so, that's the first thing out of his mouth. I'm going to come win. And, the mentality is that I think it's going to be fun, and we've got a lot of fun things planned here, and we've got a cowboy singer coming in for our chuck wagon dinner one night, and so there'll be a lot of fun things. But I think when people hit that course, there's nobody going out there for fun.
So I was looking at the weather forecast, which I shouldn't do, but Tuesday, all the little icon on the weather thing where it gives you a sun or a rain or whatever, the icon on Tuesday was just wind, just a lot of wind.
Yeah.
So about 20-mile-an-hour winds, perhaps, is what we're thinking. So 6.5 Creedmoors, everything's 6.5 Creedmoor, right?
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see how that comes into play, because that's the tricky part. That's the voodoo part.
Win it Monday is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Win it on Monday and survive
and then
Tuesday.
don't fall apart on Tuesday.
Don't fall apart,
Yeah,
that's right.
That's it.
The heat's going to come into play. The wind's going to come. I mean, twice today, as our competitors were all arriving throughout the day, twice we had little whirlwinds come up. Almost, we had one of the signs out front that looked like a Twister when the cows going around, and that happened twice out here. That whole setup out front where everybody registers, everything just got lifted up in the air. So, when one of those hits and your bullet's downrange, it's. But no, the conditions are going to be a challenge. I mean, but that's hunting, right? I mean, you never if that elk is sitting out there at 325 yards and you've got a 25 mile per hour wind, you're going to figure out what you got to do. Where am I going to, what's my hold? Where am I going to, what ounces am I going to make for the wind? And that's part of it.
And they've got 3 shots to hit the target. Is that right?
So 3 shots on each target.
Okay.
So there's a scoring system. If you get all 3 points, obviously you're going to score more. If you miss one,
okay.
So it's a scored system, and the bonus stages will be there'll be a lot of fun. The simulated bear attack should be interesting to see how people react to that. So
that sounds spicy.
He said, I only have to wear the costume for the first hour.
Right.
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you.
Yeah. You guys are taking turns. There's a few different.
Well, between Bam and Adam and Matt, I mean, Team Beefcakes or whatever you want to call him. When I saw Bam Marshall for the first time, and he's this former Marine guide, and he's about 6'3", and right now he weighs about 245.
He looks like he just picks up the elk and put it on over his shoulder.
And not unlike Matt, when he was in the Marine Corps, and he was actually a CrossFit trainer at one point for the Marine Corps, and he got up to 290 pounds, and he's trimmed down to 245. So this team is, and that's the guide.
Yeah,
that doesn't include these two.
Yeah.
So Matt, thinking about these shots that you're a hunter, you're a shooter. Are there any shots that come to mind in the past, whether it's just on the range at targets or in the field hunting, that are memorable shots, whether it was a tough shot or a quick shot or whatever it might have been?
Yeah. We had a elk hunt one time in Nevada, and I had a friend of mine who was the first shooter. We had finally got on these elk, and he's the primary shooter. I'm secondary. He shoots his bull. I don't know exactly what happened. I know that there was a little bit of hooting and hollering, so I imagine that he did pretty good, but I'm holding on my bull.
Right.
And he was bedded. His bull had finally stood up, and when he stood up, you could tell. You just know in the hunting game when an animal is going to give you a second or 30 seconds, or he's going to be gone
just
the
body
minute he hits his
language.
feet.
Yeah.
And the minute he got up, it was apparent that he loaded that back in. And so, I'm on him. I let one fly. He hunkered up a little bit, but now he's rolling.
Oh, now he's running
and
off.
he's going, and he's with the rest of this herd, and they're going in these trees.
But you're committed because you put one in him.
Put one in him. Definitely know I got him.
Yeah.
But in that situation, right, you don't know. You can say
Yeah.
Oh, I made a good shot, or I don't know what happened really, but I know I hit him.
Yeah.
And so off we go. We're running. We got to cover about 1,000 yards to get on the other side of a little outcropping of trees. And when we get there, he's now about 450 yards.
Ooh.
And he's at the very back, and he's definitely got a little bit of a hitch in his giddy up.
Yeah.
And so now you're on the fly, right? So you're breathing hard. You just ran 1,000 yards. Not unlike what we're probably going to experience tomorrow.
Yep.
And again, it's a hunting situation. You have a wounded animal. You got to, follow up a shot. You got to make it a good shot. It's got to be an ethical shot. And so now I'm down on a pack. I'm laying down. Boom, send one. Hit him. Off he goes again. Now he's a 500.
Oh, geez.
Now he's a 5 1/4. And now this isn't something that I'm really as comfortable with.
You're starting to get into guessing zone at that point.
You're getting into am I on the 4th hash marker? I know what I'm doing, but am I really holding on it? Boom! Finally hit him. Drop him at about 600.
Wow.
And when we get there, my first shot hit him right in the hoof.
Oh, geez.
Of all things to do to hit an animal, right?
hoof.
Hit him in the hoof.
I wonder what happened. I wonder.
He had gone to wheel away and
Oh, he was
turn.
kind of moving.
Yeah, he was rolling. I saw him
yeah.
load up, so I sent it, and it was about 450 on the first shot.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, things happen at that distance, right? But, you know, that is hunting. I mean, and for so many people, when you hear them talk about hunting, like, oh, you know, I never take a bad shot, or I've never. It's like, well, you know, give it enough time.
Yeah, you probably will have that happen. Yeah, because you've been hunting for so long. You know, however many days. Sometimes it could be the last day of the hunt. This is the animal you've been waiting for, and this is the opportunity.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's and then also people will say, well, I'd never shoot at an animal running. Well, what if you already shot him and he's running away?
Right.
And you really need to put him down.
Yeah.
No doubt. Yeah, and there's so many things that come to play, right? And we talk about the wind on Tuesday and how that's going to affect, or, you know, what's between you and that 500-yard target versus that 200-yard target. And there's all these things that your mind's constantly thinking about. And then, again, going back to the hunting scenario, I mean, these are wild animals. These are animals that are very good at what they do, right? So, you know, it does take a certain mindset. I think that's also where the competitive nature of people, whether it's competitive shooting, or the sports realm, or the hunting realm. You know, all that stuff kicks in to make you really good at what you do, but only if you put the time in, you practice it, you work at it.
Yeah, and I think that shooting at targets is one thing. Something about shooting at a real animal, it just focuses you so much when you're out there in the field. I know that I've talked to so many people who go, I shoot better on critters or birds or whatever than I do on clay targets.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
The adrenaline is real.
Yeah.
It's 100% real. I mean,
Yeah, 100% focus.
Yeah, I mean, I had a elk hunt in New Mexico where I'd killed a couple of elk down there and having a hunt. We're not having much luck, and we're coming up out of a valley, and we go across a flat and we continue up. And this is about 12 years ago, and I'm in a little better shape than I am now. Wasn't that great, but it was okay. We were at about 7,000. Here we're at 8,000, and I'm dying. I mean, I'm just hurting, and I can't breathe. My chest is exploding. I stopped my guide, and I said, "Guess I need just a 5-minute blow." While we were waiting, and I'm nervous. I'm nervous that I've put myself in a bad situation, and I hear something, and I look beneath me to my right, and coming down this trail we had just crossed, there's 2 6x6 bulls. Either one of them were shooters. They're beautiful elk, and I got my guide's attention, and so we came around. I tried to get my gun off, and I tried to come around, and he blew and tried to stop them, and they were on their way somewhere. They weren't interested in stopping, so they stopped briefly, and I'm still trying to get my gun, and then they dropped off, and we never saw them. They were gone. But what was crazy was I go from literally not being a little worried that I pushed myself a little bit too hard coming out of this valley at 7,000 feet to just immediate.
Now I'm ready.
Yeah, I was ready. I was ready to take a shot. My heart slowed down. I was able to breathe, and I didn't know it at the time. But then after they ran, I was like, oh man, we're not going to get a shot on these guys. I was like, wow, the adrenaline hit me so hard or something that it was just like it literally, like, I don't want to say it saved my life, be over dramatic, but I was certainly hurting.
Yeah.
And something just shot in me, and it was just like, so there is absolutely, I think, an adrenaline factor.
Well, it's going to be fun. A lot of targets out there, and they're all animal targets. This is the Hunter Games, so I can't wait to see what happens. Thanks for being on with us today.
Well, it was a pleasure to be here. I got to say, too, that 6.5 is such a great all-around round. I've shot deer, everything from muntjac to fallow and cyca deer to moose and elk, so not a bad one to showcase for this one.
For sure.
Ultimate hunting round, I think.
I cannot wait to see everybody gather at the starting line tomorrow, shoot the cannon, and get in their buggies and head out to their first stages to start.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
From start to finish.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, that's it for us. We'll see you next time.